I'm your host, G.I. Wingnut. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. This video is going to be a response to life sort of thing. There's been some things going on that definitely have me concerned. I'll get into those here in just a moment. But one of the things that I'm running into is the fact that I'm trying to help people. I really want to help people because of where I've been in life. I've survived domestic violence. I've survived human trafficking. I've survived all sorts of mental manipulations and abuses. But because of the fact that I've done a lot of work on myself, I feel like I'm in a much better place in life than I've ever been before. I've got a really, really wonderful relationship right now. But all that aside from the fact that life is really good for me right now, I'm getting some pushback in my work. Apparently some folks don't think that I can relate to them because various reasons. Maybe we see the Bible differently, or maybe skin color gets in the way. There's no one particular ethnic group that has an exclusive right to persecution claims. Every group has been persecuted to some degree or another, but some groups tend to be more abusive. And that's what brings me to today's video. Heavy shit, man. Heavy stuff. So anyway, I have this pin on my hat that says, "Fight evil, read books." So that said, there's a few books that I'm in the process of reading or trying to read because, life is crazy. And I'm thinking that there's a distinct possibility that I'm going to have to rethink the way I do things as far as interacting with society as a whole and trying to be a beneficial human being. So, first up, I want to address this book, One Nation Under Blackmail by Whitney Webb. Good stuff. When she wrote the book, she only meant for it to be one, but it turned out to be 2 volumes. Tons of information. It's about the sordid union between intelligence and organized crime that gave the rise to Jeffrey Epstein, which Jeffrey Epstein was recruited by Les Wexner. Les Wexner also recruited Peter Thiel. If you don't know who he is, I will end up doing an episode about him. I do believe I have a playlist on Peter Thiel that was put together by Behind the Bastards. It's like 4 or 5 episodes. The guy's a real piece of work. If you don't know who he is, he was personal advisor to Mark Zuckerberg. He was the number 2 largest investor in Facebook when Facebook started up. Peter Thiel sat on the board at Meta for 20 years as a personal advisor to Mark Zuckerberg before Peter Thiel stepped away from the Meta board to get behind Trump and Elon. Peter Thiel and Elon Musk are tied together through the PayPal mafia. Anyway, I'm digressing. That's stuff that I can run into later. But like Sun Tzu says, know your enemy. Another book that I'm in the process of reading, which is written as this guy's point of view on things from his own experience, which very closely parallels my own. 2 Masters, 2 Gospels. Let me see if I can get that up there. 2 Masters, 2 Gospels by Michael Bennett. He's a PhD. The Teaching of Jesus and the Leaven of the Pharisees in Talk Radio and Cable News. This is talking about people like Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck. Of course, I can't hardly mention Glenn Beck without mentioning his Mormonism and his ties to now disgraced Tim Ballard, who was excommunicated from the Mormon Church and converted to Catholicism through Catholics for Trump. That's another whole video that I could do. Or I could send you to Lynn Packer or Cara Burrell and their work on Tim Ballard in reference to that movie Sound of Freedom, which was supposed to be allegedly a documentary about how human trafficking rescues work, which the whole thing is BS, because as a trained advocate against human trafficking, I know it doesn't work that way. Next up, I want to introduce you to a book by John Andrew Collins, Weaponized Religion, From Latter Rain to Colonia Dignidad. If you don't know about Colonia Dignidad, it was known as the colony by the individuals that were fleeing Third Reich Germany at the end of World War II. There's some evidence that would suggest that Joseph Mengele showed up at Colonia Dignidad. And Paul Schaefer, the founder of this place, was into young boys. I'm not going to cover that at the moment. But right there is William Branham. And, oh, look at there. Isn't that Oral Roberts? So, yeah, I got some crazy stuff to cover. And it makes it challenging when people say that I'm false because, you know, I've untangled stuff. But, hey, that's just one of those things that goes with the territory when you're calling out bad actors. Speaking of bad actors, I'll get to that. Let's see. I wanted to talk about narrow-minded justice, because victimhood and trauma is not exclusive to any one demographic. Ideological dogma. Sometimes people hang on to things just a little too tightly because, which is evident in pushback against new information. And trust me, having grown up in the Assemblies of God Church, the same denomination that ordained Jim Jones and was part of that whole William Branham thing, I had to untangle a lot to get away from Christian nationalism, which meant I also had to give up believing in rapture doctrine. Anyway, that's an aside. Some of the things that I'm working against and trying to do, I'm working against abuses that happen in churches. And not all churches are abusive. All right? I attend a church that some would consider as progressive, but personally, even as an agnostic, I find them to be more Christ-like than some of the churches that I've seen in the past, which brings me to Mike Bickle, a current case that's going on. I'll drop some links to this stuff, but Mike Bickle has like 32 victims, and he was the lead pastor at International House of Prayer in Kansas City. Dude's walking around on the streets. 32 victims of SA and prophetic abuse, spiritual abuse. This is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. I talked to my local senator. He's surprised that Mike Bickle is still walking around on the streets. Meanwhile, we're trying to get things reformed in the Missouri prison system so there's not so much abuse on the streets. Or in the prisons, rather. Yeah, I'm agitated. Because people are wanting to try to change things in the system without knowing what's going on behind the system. It's like Sun Tzu said, know your enemy. Know your enemy. It's one thing to study philosophy. It's another thing to just read it. But it's a completely different concept when you start applying these philosophies to your life. And if you don't know who your enemy is, if you don't know the power that's behind them, if you don't know about things like the New Apostolic Reformation, the Heritage Foundation, Opus Dei, all right? If you don't know details about Project 2025, if you can't see that the current administration is trying their darndest to make this shit happen, they want Project 2025. There are First Nations, Indian activists, indigenous peoples activists, however you want to classify them. All right. But there are people in America that under Andy Jackson were put onto essentially what I referred to as cattle ranches, but one of the activists refers to as a prison camp. Did you know that the American Indians require their own identification that has their own number? I didn't know that. Anyway. This next comment is probably going to be kind of spicy for some folks. Just saying. But from my own perspective, as a congressional watchdog, as an activist against human trafficking and sexual violence in particular, I just want to mention Harvey Weinstein and Barack Obama in passing. Yeah, Barack Obama was the first black American president. And Harvey Weinstein was one of those Hollywood guys that got shipped off to prison for behaving badly. As I see it, as an advocate against human trafficking, Harvey Weinstein was just a sacrificial offering. Oh, look, see, we're doing something. When child assault prosecutions went down under the Trump administration. How do you think that's going to play out under the current administration? That gets me to mentioning T.D. Jakes and his connections to Paula White. You know, that spiritual advisor that Trump appointed for the office of faith. And what the heck is it? Trump keeps making shit up. And I'm irritated about it. But anyway, Paula White, a while back, gave T.D. Jakes a convertible Bentley on global television as a birthday present. Instead of, oh, I don't know, maybe donating that money to a homeless shelter? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe feed some people. But anyway, on that note, I just want to remind you that T.D. Jakes has direct connections to P. Diddy. And didn't Kanye West just recently beg Trump to let Diddy out of prison? And, oh yeah, also Kanye West lost his cool, saying that Elon stole his Nazi swag. Yeah, I'm agitated. So, it's at this point that I want to bring up Dr. Stephen Hassan's BITE model. BITE stands for behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotion control. These are the 4 categories of control that are required to build any cultic organization. Combined with Dr. Stephen Hassan's influence continuum, the opportunities are provided to look at a group, at their dynamics, see if it fits the BITE model. Are they telling you how to act? Are they only feeding you certain information? Are they insisting that you only think a certain way and that you should have certain emotions about certain things, even if it's propaganda? Propaganda like litter boxes in classrooms. Or kids are getting gender surgery while they're gone to school. Folks, if you dropped your son off at school and you picked up a daughter at the end of school, you got the wrong kid. Anyway, with the BITE model and the influence continuum combined, you can look at the organizational structure. You can look at the leader of the organization, and you can look at the members of the organization and determine whether or not these 3 categories or these 3 different layers of a group fall on a sliding scale of beneficial to destructive. Yeah, I'm wound up. But anyway, in my experiences, I strongly support the message of Jesus. Love one another as I have loved you, for by these works they will know you are my followers. I also believe in I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. And there was a question asked of Jesus, according to the Bible. When have we ever done these things to you? And Jesus answered, if you have done any of these things to the least among you, you have done them for me. So, yeah, it took some hard information to get me to change my mind and walk away from MAGA and spiritually abusive organizations, mentally abusive, mentally manipulative organizations, secular or religious. Anyway, I really want to believe in Jesus. I really want to believe that humans can be good people, and I know they can. And I also know that there's a lot of good people out there that aren't Christians, that do subscribe to other faith systems, or don't believe in any sort of deity at all. But just because two groups can't agree on something as broad as whether or not there is some supernatural entity, and that is what people are willing to fight over, rather than actually looking at each other as fellow human beings. Some cultures, their communities will pull together to throw a festival where they feed everybody who comes, and nobody pays a dime. It's all charity. It's all about empathy. But if we can't let go of little tiny differences that might just be a pebble in the road, if we're going to get bent out of shape about that, I don't know how we can work together. I want to get past that. I want people to understand the dangers that are the powers behind MAGA, including Opus Dei and the New Apostolic Reformation. Opus Dei, their very first, whatever the title is for their leader, but the very first cardinal or pope of whatever, I don't know what the title is, but he was forced into resigning after 35 years of child abuse allegations of an adult nature. We'll just put it that way. PDF files. Yeah. Anyway, we could talk more later about Mike Bickle. We can talk more later about the whole gaggle that's messed up in that. In fact, it's probably easier if I just drop a couple of video links in the description. Religious trauma is real. Trauma is real. It's part of the human condition. In today's society, if you aren't rich, you're less than them. They don't care all that much about colors, creeds, and doctrines, as long as you look like them and go their way. I'm talking about MAGA. Pete Hegseth wanting an all-white military. I mean, the list goes on. The list goes on and on. But if people don't understand the dangers behind political powers that are in play, I don't know what I can do. I went to a St. Louis County Council meeting, and the county administrator, I think is what his title is, looks, acts, and sounds like a Republican, even though Democrat is on his title, or is behind his name. There's that D. Attorney General Bailey, Attorney General of the state of Missouri. He's acting like a Republican, but I'm thinking from what I looked up a while back that he's a Democrat. Now, I could be mistaken, and I'll double check that. But Attorney General Bailey has filed a lawsuit against Starbucks because they're not white enough and they have too many women. This shit's insane. All right? I don't even want to get in at the moment. I don't even want to get into the whole document leak that happened after Andrew Bailey, while operating as acting Attorney General, pulled a bunch of health records from Washington University Medical Center. And some of those, some of the information, some of the data in those files leaked out. And it caused some backlash because the files that were released had to do with something that is considered or called gender affirming care, transgender care. But on that note, I just want to point this out. If you're a Republican and you're a male and you're taking testosterone supplements, or you went and got hair plugs, or you had a scalp reduction done, or something like that, even something as simple as wearing lifts in your shoes to look more manly, you're participating in gender affirming care. So you're being a hypocrite. It's the endless hypocrisy of MAGA that pushed me away. So that's some raw thoughts there, folks. That's how I'm feeling. I'm trying to help people, but I can't help people if they keep a closed mind. I'm trying to, with the MAGA eschatology and accelerationism series, I am trying to expose the doctrines and dogmas behind the current administration, behind Project 2025, behind the controls of the Heritage Foundation, behind the controls that have come down from the moral majority ever since the Reagan administration. All right? Yeah. Stick around, folks. Because having grown up as a Christian nationalist and untangle it all, I put in a lot of work. And quite frankly, it doesn't piss me off. It doesn't really hurt my feelings, but it does disappoint me when anybody is advocating for one particular victim group and discounting the effects that other victim groups have had to deal with. So I don't know. And no, I'm not just speaking to one person. I'm speaking to an entire movement. A movement that I'm trying to be a part of. But just like the things that led me to leave MAGA as and the respect that I was already a paladin and a rogue. And if you don't know what a paladin is, there's somebody who has the mindset of, oh, I see something that's wrong. I want to go fix it. And they will do it right down to their own detriment. Well, I've learned boundaries. So I'm not nearly as paladin driven as I used to be because I untangled that MAGA mentality. Yeah, I'm ranting because I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. Too many of us grew up without being taught how to think critically, how to consider various and sundry things. But I was blessed. I was blessed to have a mom like mine, a hippie, an English teacher, and a journalist, who basically raised me in a library. And we had a pretty decent library in the house. Question everything, including your answers. Well, one of the things I had to question was some of the stuff that I had to deal with. This is where it's going to get raw for just a second, and then I got to get out of here. But I keep hearing about white privilege. I grew up poor. I was abused as a child by a family member, not my parents. But this individual also impacted my entire generation of cousins, and God knows how many other kids. There are reasons why I do what I do. I've had to work through a lot of shit. So I get pissed when people start talking about white privilege. Yeah, my folks, God bless them. I love them. I miss my mom. All right, I do. I miss my mom. She's been gone 14 years now. No, I'm sorry, 12 years now. But my parents were so deeply entrenched in the Assemblies of God Church that no matter what, they gave 10% of their income to the church, which, fortunately, my grandparents had money, and they were able to subsidize our household. But how much better could our lives have been when I was growing up if that 10% hadn't been so dogmatically given to the building? Yeah, there's some stuff to untangle on that. And I'll talk to you about it later. Anyway, yeah. Religious trauma is real. Trauma is real. So, when one demographic is either blind to the trauma of another demographic or discounts it, straight up discounts it, because our trauma is worse than yours, I get really irritated. There are reasons why I am in the process of pursuing peer support specialist training, and I will become state certified. There are reasons why I will pursue becoming an advocate for the homeless. I've been homeless, all right? I'm a veteran. So I'm going to be specifically looking for homeless veterans. But that gives me access to the homeless community. After that, I plan on becoming a trauma recovery coach, certified, specializing in individuals leaving high demand groups. So I'm wondering, have I been going about things in the wrong way? Are my frustrations self-inflicted because of the people that I'm trying to wake up? That I'm trying to get to realize that there's more than one set of facts to base everything on? Or am I just feeling the frustrations of a teacher and researcher? I don't know. Life is not without its challenges, that's for sure. And I'm in a great mood. I'm in a great place. I'm really good with where my mind is. And I am blessed. I am so blessed in life right now. And I really wish that some other people might be able to celebrate their own victories. I've tried to set up interviews, but because of the fact that I am a deconstructed fundamentalist, I find it actually easier to talk to Buddhists and other secularists. Why? Why? I am not attacking any faith systems in particular. I'm just coming after bad ideas because of the way they manipulate people. Which is why I also regularly call out narcissists. That said, there's a whole lot of work I'm doing over in a digital environment that is definitely Trump-centric. You know what? I don't care. I used to be one of them. So I now see it as my mission field. As frustrated as I get, as much as I want to walk away, I know that I need to do what I'm doing there. And it's apparently causing some friction in other parts of the world. I'm sorry. That's not my intent. Anyway, one of the things you're not supposed to do is don't apologize. But it's if the facts that I present are offensive to you, I would challenge you to either present me with the alternate facts that you believe in so that I had the opportunity to change my mind, and maybe you consider why you're reacting the way you are to the things I say. Why are you offended? These are things that I will address in the future, because I personally found cognitive behavioral therapy and acceptance commitment therapy and a few other techniques to be incredibly helpful in breaking away from this book or that other book has all the truth in it and that's all you need to know. I was raised to believe all you needed was a King James Bible and a Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. I was doing apologetics before the word even existed. All right? That is part of charismatic evangelicalism. Anyway, I got to get out of here, folks. This rant's gone over a half hour, and I'm feeling it. So, yes, I'm agitated. Yes, I'm disappointed. Yes, I'm frustrated because people get caught up on themselves and their ideas without taking into consideration how those thoughts and ideas may impact others. I'm expressing what I have learned in my deconstruction. I am expressing and sharing the details of how I got out of MAGA. I am sharing and expressing my thoughts and feelings as to the dangers of this group. The theocracy that they're setting up. You can see what's going on in the modern world. It's February 15th, 2025 for reference. So if you're watching this video 10 years down the road, which I suspect might happen, could happen, I don't know. But yeah, it's February 15th, 2025. So we'll see how this plays out. But so far, the warnings that I was trying to give to MAGA before this past election cycle concluded, I was trying to point out to them the dangers of Project 2025, and they kept telling me it's a hoax, it's a hoax, it's a hoax. But one of the key authors, a member of Opus Dei, working with the Heritage Foundation, has been appointed by Trump for one of those cabinet positions. So I don't know how things are going to go. Oh, one last thought. So ICE is looking for people that are posting things that are unfavorable towards them. Well, guess what? I'm not a fan of ICE. Fuck you, ICE. All right? Fuck you. Because you are causing as much trauma within our culture as the Americanized evangelical church has. Anyway. Maybe one of these days, some folks will take a look at some of the stories out there about how kids who have come home from college or whatever and announced to their charismatic evangelical families that they're gay or they feel like they're transgender because they've gotten the opportunity to explore their mind a little bit. And maybe they get thrown down a set of stairs. Or maybe they get excommunicated from the family and shunned. Or, in one case that I know of, the family chooses their child over the church. Anyway. Mental health matters, folks. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And until the next video.